we were down on the quay this morning, I was told under no uncertain terms to stop looking at the boats and talk about something other than boats, because I was going to have a whole day talking about boats. So if you enjoy talking about boats and talking about the sea, then you're in the right place. If you're not, sorry, this might be a little bit boring for you, but hopefully not. Hopefully there is entertaining, interesting content and stories that you can enjoy listening to, and you can learn something about the joy of sailing. Hi guys, welcome to the Sailing Podcast, where we talk about the sea, the boats that sail on it and the people that sail those boats, as well as all the kit and clobber that they use. We're here today in the Royal Lymington Yacht Club. Thank you very much for hosting us. And I am here with my friend and colleague, Toby Heppell.
Hello.
How you doing, Toby?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Not bad. It's been a long old drive to get to Lymington. It's lovely now we're here, but yeah, a little tired.
South Coast's not always that easy, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah. But hitting the tree, was that before or after the journey?
It was before the journey even began. It was 7 o'clock this morning. I was not enough coffee, but yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do when you're not here podcasting with me?
Well, like you said, we are friend and colleague. I've met you years ago, actually. We've sort of worked both on different sailing publications, and then I worked directly under you.
Yeah, you were on the dark side, weren't you?
Yeah. I used to work for
Chelsea magazines.
Chelsea magazines for Yachts and Yachting for years, and then once I left there, I came and worked with you for a year on Yachting Monthly.
Yeah. And
now we work together. I'm the digital editor of our group, so I look after this stuff and all of our websites and all of our social output.
Yachting World, Practical Boat Owner, Motor Boats and Yachting, and of course Yachting Monthly.
Your Yachting Monthly.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's me. And we've worked together doing that for about 5 years now, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Yeah. But we wanted to come and sit down and talk about boats. I think my wife's bored of me talking about boats to her, so she chucked me out of the house and told to go and talk to somebody else about boats. So
my partner has a similar view on talking about boats. When she first, my whole family are a sailing family.
Yeah.
When my partner was first introduced to them, she sat around the table and we all just immediately started talking a completely different language.
Yeah, we were down on the quay this morning. I was told under no uncertain terms to stop looking at the boats and talk about something other than boats, because I was going to have a whole day talking about boats. So if you enjoy talking about boats and talking about the sea, then you're in the right place. If you're not, sorry, this might be a little bit boring for you, but hopefully not. Hopefully there is entertaining, interesting content and stories that you can enjoy listening to, and you can learn something about the joy of sailing.
I'm sort of quite intrigued because we've been colleagues for a long time, but so we sort of talk peripherally around sailing, which is a love of both of us, but it's also publishing and it's very business chat. So I'm sort of really intrigued to get under the skin of what your sailing life has been like.
Yes,
because I don't know a huge amount about your actual sailing.
Because in some ways we've got weirdly similar parallels of we're exactly the same age. We've both got slightly floppy hair and some slightly strange facial hair.
Yeah.
It's very stylish. Mine's just sort of random stubble because I can't be bothered to shave. Yours is clearly more tended.
I shaved off the grey, Theo.
Shaved off the grey. I haven't quite got there yet. So I didn't have that until a couple of years ago. But so and then we've both done a fair bit of East Coast sailing. We've both done some racing, some yacht sailing, and now we both work for sailing magazines, basically. So, in many ways it's weird that we didn't cross paths sooner, because I feel like we've been sailing in similar places and similar boats for quite a long time.
Yeah, and it's not a big world, as most of you listening or watching will know. It's,
But there are also some differences between our views, so I'm quite interested to, and I'm always quite surprised because you come across as sort of quite mild-mannered, and then you dig under the surface and you've got some actually quite strong views that I think are just weird. So I'm quite interested to sort of dig into that a little bit and see where we get to.
Yeah, for sure.
Good. So before we go any further, I'd like to just understand a little bit more about your sailing background and how you got into sailing. And maybe we could start with the first boat you ever sailed.
Yeah, so a peek behind the curtain. Theo's sort of sent me the subjects that we're going to talk about for this.
Yeah, we've got notes on our computers.
Yeah.
Hopefully you know your own stories.
Well, sure.
We're not scripted today.
I don't remember the first boat I ever sailed on. I think I come from a family. My mum and my dad always raced dinghies. My dad was always racing dinghies when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've got pictures of me as a literal newborn, like on the deck of a Hornet that my dad's working on, a Hornet racing dinghy that my dad's working on in a boat park.
Yeah.
So I have no memory of a time where sailing wasn't in my life. So I don't really, I couldn't tell you what the first boat I went out on is, but sort of my formative boat memory, I guess, is my 4th birthday. I came downstairs on my 4th birthday, and my mum and dad had bought me a bright red Optimist dinghy, and they'd rigged it, all bar the spit, because our living room wasn't that tall. But they'd rigged it downstairs, and that was my birthday present.
Amazing.
I sat in that in the living room as a 4-year-old, and I sat in it all day and opened all my presents and ate my cake in there. And that's really the first time I remember like a really specific boaty moment.
Yeah.
And that was my boat that I started sailing at the age of 4.
What's the word for sort of sailing kids? In surfing, it's a grom, isn't it? But I don't know what it is in sailing.
Yeah,
sailing.
I don't
feel like
really
we need
know.
a term for sort of young sailors. Not a pejorative term, obviously, but
well, I mean, cadets was always
it's probably cadets,
but
isn't it?
cadets always feels
quite
like
formal.
and a little bit older than like
sailing tots.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was my. I remember that, and then I remember. Sailing that. I don't remember this, but I've been told that my parents lashed me to the breakwater on a very, very long piece of bungee, because as a 4-year-old, they didn't want me to get too far. So my Optimist dinghy sailing, I guess, was all in a kind of like a semicircle out from the beach.
Where was that?
So that was in Brighton in Essex.
So you're an Essex boy?
I am an Essex boy,
Born and bred. North Essex, though. It's almost Suffolk.
Yeah, and coastal, and it's all very, and it's much more, boy, than Joey Essex, I guess. But yeah, that was great. And that was my life as a kid, was at the sailing club, and racing Optimists and mirrors. Really, they were the main thing that my family raced. But it was immediately.
Did you build the mirrors yourself as well?
Yeah. So the first mirror.
This is proper stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the first mirror we bought actually at. It was on display at the boat show in Earl's Court, when the boat show used to be at Earl's Court.
That dates you a little bit. Dates us a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I fear a lot of this might date us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
It's right, to some people we probably still look young.
Yes,
But,
good.
To many, I'm aware that we definitely don't look young anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, we bought that mirror, and then we were a mirror racing family. So we built, like, my sisters had one that they sailed together, and then they built one each, and then I built my own, obviously all with the help of my dad and my mum. But yeah,
was that the little stitch and glue?
Yeah, exactly. Stitch and glue. I managed to swing it to build a mirror. As I did design and technology at GCSE at school. I managed to swing helping my dad building a mirror as my practical part of my GCSE, which was really good.
Yeah, amazing.
So yeah. So what about you? What's the first boat you remember?
Yeah, well, I was trying to remember. The first boat I really remember going on wasn't a sailing boat, but was a canoe.
Okay.
So we lived in Cambridgeshire, and we're effectively a Midlands family, as far from the sea as you can get. But my parents got an old wooden Canadian canoe. And I remember being taken down to the river in the morning. Obviously, as children, we were all awake at goodness knows what time. And at sort of 6 in the morning, being bundled into this canoe for a paddle up and down the river before school or place group or whatever it was we were doing that day, and before Dad went off to work. And just like the mist on the river, and I'd get shoved in the end of the canoe and I'd have my own little space. And I absolutely loved it. Yeah, so the first boat that I really remember wanting to go on was a motorboat, of all things. I mean,
it's terrible thing.
I beg your pardon at this point, but it was just like this little chug blue fishing boat called Blue Champ, and I just thought it looked amazing at age 6 or whatever I was. And for one birthday, Mum and Dad asked the owners, and they took us out fishing. I put the mackerel lines in, and the owner put his line in and got a fish on it, and then obviously said, "Oh, take this line." And I was like, "I've caught a fish! I've caught a fish!" I pulled it in, and that was kind of. Since then, I love. You go for a sail, you come in at the end of the day. This is cruising, obviously. Put the mackerel lines out as you're going into harbour. Get 2 or 3 mackerel as you're going past the rocks. Stick them in the oven, and by the time you're all tied up and washed up, you've got dinner cooked for you, ready to go. But I've never ever caught anything other than mackerel. I don't know how to catch anything other than mackerel. I'm really good at mackerel fishing. I can't do any other kind of fishing. Anyway, and then in this little Welsh bay, I remember being taken sailing on a heron dinghy and doing some of the local regatta, the sort of summer regatta there. And then after a little while, my parents bought a Wayfarer dinghy, and the owners who were selling it threw in their kids' topper dinghy. They had grown-up kids and stuff. Yeah. They were getting rid of their boats. So they threw in a topper as well. So then we'd go down on holiday and we then lived near Rutland Water. Yep. So we did lots of sailing there. So basically learning in a Wayfarer dinghy and a topper dinghy at the sailing club in Rutland, and then on holiday in Wales, and then just got into racing from there. But then I've got this whole sort of separate life that's also yachts. So where I sort of then developed a bit of a passion for yachts, because in the same place there was a little Cornish shrimper, little 19-foot thing, called Victoria Plum. I can still remember it. And I went out sailing on that. A little spark in your eye.
Oh,
no, that was a lovely little boat. And then when I was 10, one of my dad's friends invited us to go over to Holland and sail their Contessa 32 back from Holland to the River Deben.
Okay.
And that was probably, that was just amazing.
I mean, I am starting to get, I already knew you liked Contessa 32s as a rule in the boat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that...
So maybe it started a long time back.
Yeah, I think it was sort of proper boats and going on proper adventures. And I think that idea of getting on a boat and then the open horizon, and like you go out of here, we're on the Lymington River, go out there, turn right, and there's nothing. Once you're out, you can go to France, nothing between you and America. You just keep on going on whatever boat you're on, as long as you've got enough food and all that water. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. I could go on about that.
So the yacht stuff came later. You would.
Yeah, I got into and so growing up, I was just I'd raced a Laser 4000. Never particularly well, but I did that, and then I went on a couple of kids sailing camps. So the Pathfinder Broads cruise, like a Christian sailing camp over on the Norfolk Broads, and I loved that. I was sailing traditional gaff riggers all around the river, lovely, rivers there, and that was just like. That was magic. That was independence, away from parents, being given yachts for a week to go and play on. And then there's a Tollsbury just down from Brightlingsea. There's a lightship on the salt marshes there. Have you been there? Yeah, and that's a sailing centre called FACT, Fellowship Afloat. Okay. And I did loads of my qualifications there, like level 3, did I do level 3, level 5 instructors courses, and that was great because we just sort of it was really fun, load of mates, loads of food, and playing around in boats and stuff. So that was all. A lot of that was in Wayfarers, but a bit of high performance-y stuff as well. I kind of fell in love with the East Coast there as well, because it's a funny old place because there's a lot of mud, and there's
there is a lot of mud,
it's good and it gets quite shallow, but it's proper sailing there. Like, you have to be good at sailing there.
Yeah, and there is something. I mean, I live in Brighton now. Now I'm a grown up, but there is something I miss about the East Coast and the estuary sailing. And I remember there was someone that moved down. I can't even remember. A friend of my parents had moved down to Brightlingsea as well, and they were always like, "Oh, it's lovely at high tide, but at low tide it looks ugly." And like, actually, the opposite, I think, is true. At low tide, when you can see these big, vast mud flats and little estuary, like little bits of water left, I always thought it was Essex on the east coast with those big mud flats looks
Yeah.
in its own unique way
Yeah.
beautiful.
And the skies are like incredible. There aren't skies anywhere else like it. They're just vast skyscapes with nothing interrupting them.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things I love is when you anchor or moor in one of those creeks at low tide and the tide goes out, the wind drops off because you're suddenly sheltered by these big marshes. No one else is around, and the mud's alive. You can hear it like popping and little creatures and the oyster catchers around. The sound of the oyster catchers, and it's just so peaceful. I've just finished reading Maurice Griffith's Magic of the Swatchways. Now, he was an editor of Yachting Monthly for like 40 years.
Okay, right.
And he hated he hated like going offshore, and his wife made him sail to Holland one year to do a proper adventure, and he hated it. He just wanted to be crawling around these little creeks and sheltered harbour anchorages and stuff. He loved it. So I've got a lot of time for the East Coast.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we should talk about, so obviously I've gone on a little bit about cruising and you've gone on a little bit about racing, and obviously we've both done a little bit of the other, or a fair bit of the other. And I think before we become sort of one homogenous Theo, Toby lump.
Just talking misty-eyed members of the East Coast,
I think we should explore why cruising yachts is the only real kind of sailing that anyone should do.
Sure, Theo. Okay.
But I suspect you've got a slightly different view on that.
I do, yeah. And I think, I think this is a really interesting point because, like you said, we work for, nominally you work for Yachting Monthly, but increasingly we work across kind of 3 or 4 titles. We all work together.
Yeah.
And I think from the outside, people look at those magazines, Practical Boato, the Yachting World and Yachting Monthly, as kind of all talking about the same thing, but they all have their own unique niche. And the further you get into our sort of sport or hobby, the more you realise that we can be quite divided by our own kind of views on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when people ask me what I do, and I say I edit Yachting Monthly, they're like, "Oh, you'll know so and so, or you're doing this." Oh no, I don't cover motorboats.
Yeah.
No, I don't cover dinghies. Yeah, no, I don't cover racing. Oh no, that boat's too big for us. I actually cover cruising boats between 22 and 55 feet.
Yeah.
In this, and you realise that you're not just in a niche sector. We're in a niche within a niche within a niche, and it's. And then it sort of becomes all consuming, and you wonder how anybody does anything else. But
there we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your ideal day on the water? Maybe we could start there.
So, I mean, I don't get on with cruising. I'll just straight out say that.
What?
My ideal day on the water crucially ends somewhere in the afternoon, early evening.
Somewhere like this in a yacht club bar, presumably.
Ideally, yeah. A bar with a beer would be great. Yeah.
Pub with a fire.
Yeah. Maybe not a pub with a fire, but yeah.
Is that a bit too old man? I'm going cruising on you there.
I mean, in the rest of my life, I really like hiking.
Okay.
And that is pub with a fire. I try and keep the two interests separate.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, like I was sort of saying, I was born into a family of dinghy racing, and it's kind of what we did. There wasn't, it's not like I was leveraged into it, but it's just what we did as a family. So all my earliest memories, every weekend we would go away to a racing event, and we would go racing for the day and finish at the end of the day and come off the water. And then that was every weekend of my youth and every week during the summer. And so I don't think I ever thought about it that much for a long, long time. And then when I was at university, I sort of got into some keelboat racing. And through that, I sort of needed to do some delivery trips and bits and bobs where there was overnight. And then I got into some sort of longer overnight racing. And I just don't love spending the night on a boat, if I'm honest.
I'm gobsmacked. That is why we go sailing, not why you go sailing though.
It's not, and I think like I think there's a lot there, and I say that slightly antagonistically, because there is a part of me that does consider getting now I'm a bit older, does consider getting a cruiser and a weekender.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing for me, sailing is a sport.
Right, yeah.
Not necessarily a hobby.
Yeah.
And the part of it that really appeals to me is the part that appeals to my kind of slightly analytical, and you'll know this from work, spreadsheet heavy brain.
You don't like a spreadsheet, do you, surely?
Love a spreadsheet. So, when I was younger and even if I wasn't racing, I'd be out training and I'd be making a note of all my boat settings in a little database in a notebook that I kept, and I'd get back at the end of the day and I'd track.
Proper geek.
Yeah, and I'd track how it felt and whether I felt strong upwind, strong downwind, whether it was good, what the conditions were, what the wave state was like. And I'd take all of that knowledge to build a kind of a reasonably fast season. And that's the bit that I really, really love about the sport of sailing, is that finessing kind of my skill and my interaction with the wind and the waves and my boat to improve performance. That's the bit that really appeals to me. So I find kind of just puttering to somewhere, I take the word.
I'm offended by the word puttering.
Yeah, fair. But that's how it appears to me. That's how cruising has always felt in my mind.
Yeah. Whereas you prefer going around in circles nowhere, spending a lot of money in the process, and then coming back in because you're a bit soft and you want a hot shower at the end of the day.
I mean, I can see how that's how you can see it, but to me, that has got purpose. And I finish the day and I can say, right, that was good or that was bad. Yeah. And, I can apply these learnings next time I go out, or I can't apply these learnings, or I need to train better. And that all feels to me, I appreciate we're just going around in circles, but that feels to me like a real sense of purpose that I've really struggled to engage with in cruising. I mean, maybe you can sell me on the purpose of cruising. I do understand the kind of, it's almost, you were saying, go out here and you can go anywhere you like. Yeah. But I think that's too big for me. I want to be going to. It's
a big scary world out there, Toby.
It's just that's overfacing. Yeah. I need a more achievable goal.
Yeah. Fine. I mean, maybe my experience is that. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I do go racing sometimes, and I've done Thursday night racing here with a friend on his J105 this season. I grew up racing lasers and that kind of stuff. But actually, the thing that I dream about at night, as my wife will attest to, is getting a cruising boat.
Okay.
Quickly. It's getting a cruising boat. Yeah, so I think for me, cruising. I think one of the distinctive memories of sailing was that when I was working at a sailing centre, they had I don't know how big it was, 17-foot little open day boat, but with a centreboard in it. And we were doing this big trip, but I had to get this boat from A to B, and I was out by myself in this boat. So I put the sails up, and I moved. Well, I was taking we were out on an overnight expedition thing, and I had some water butts, so I moved them to the windward side, and I lashed the tiller so the boat would sail itself. And I just felt like, it was one of the earliest times where I felt like I was on a yacht by myself. And I don't know if it's almost like, I was obsessed with like model boats and model aeroplanes as a kid as well, and the idea that you could be autonomous, and the fact that you've got this completely free resource in the wind, and that you can just start going, and you can keep on going, and you can just travel independently. I mean, obviously you've got to buy a boat, but effectively the wind is completely free. And I just love that idea, and I think some of my happiest, most favourite times, that's not very good English, but good job I'm not an editor.
I did like to say.
is just where you discover a stunning anchorage or a beautiful bay, and you drop the anchor, and it's that feeling of independence, self-reliance, and proper adventure, that you're not just sort of following a route that someone's set for you. You're kind of off-grid. You've got to be completely self-reliant. You've got everything that you need, and you've got this sort of you're just taking your own little world with you, and I love that. There was a time that I was after I finished school, I did Navy cadets at school, and they did these adventurous training things that you could sign up for in the summer, and we sailed a Nick 55 from Wisbeach of all places up to Norway.
Okay.
But as a 18-year-old, I remember sitting at the helm on a night watch. The other 2 people on my watch had gone down below to do jobs, and we had 14 people on the boat, 13 people on the boat. And as an 18-year-old, just sat there on the helm of a 55-foot yacht in the middle of the North Sea, bashing away into a 4-6. Everyone else was sort of asleep, unconscious, kind of. And that level of responsibility of I'm looking after this boat and I'm sailing it, I'm by myself out in the middle of the sea at night, on my way to Norway, was just, I don't know, it's just intoxicating. Like this sense of that you can go anywhere, and that you can just keep on going and bashing away. And I don't know, and there's so much to learn with sailing, and I'm sure the same is true in racing. But when it comes to cruising, because you've got to know, you've got your navigation, meteorology, you've got looking after the boat, so you've got mechanical engineering for the engine, you've got electrics, you've got gas safety, you've got rigging and sail setting, and then you've got all the sort of the getting the sail set right and getting the boat set nicely and keeping her going. So you get some of that all of the sailing challenge, but then you get all this other stuff as well.
I mean, I would argue that in racing terms, you're doing a lot of that too. I mean, navigation stuff less so, and I'm aware, like one of my absolute weaknesses, even when I'm sailing yacht, racing yacht, is navigation. It's a real weak area for me.
Yeah.
But in terms of like sort of boat repair and understanding rigging and like all of that stuff, I can work with carbon and fiberglass because I've had to repair boats and stuff over time. So I do think you get a fair bit of that with racing as well. And like I said, a lot of that sort of analytic boat setting up stuff is kind of my favourite stuff. I do understand what you're saying, but I think, I think you get plenty of that with racing.
Yeah. So how are we going to reach a decision, a conclusion on this? Cruising is obviously the way to go. Racing, you're just pouring money down the drain, going in circles.
Well, you are not being moved. No, I mean, honestly, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really like hiking. I like doing week, 2 week, month-long hikes, and in that world, I like having everything on my back, and I'm just off, and I don't need to check in with the world, and it has sounds like a similar appeal.
Yeah.
And I think, I am very aware that a lot of this comes from because I always raced.
Yeah.
That was always the thing that I did. And it took up every minute of my life from before I remember until I started. So
what we're saying is we've both been brainwashed by our parents into one form of sailing or another. And
I think maybe. I mean, my nieces and nephews are all race now, and I don't think they cruise at all. I think there is something inherently.
Racing families and cruising families, and
I think
never the two shall meet.
I mean, maybe, yeah. As I get older, I do start to see the appeal of cruising a little bit more. But I
mean, you don't have to wear skin-tight rubber suits and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. You get to show yourself off. Yeah, it's great. And I also accept your sort of throwing good money after bad. There is, and I think it's a real issue for the sport of sailing. The cost of, we talk about. You quite often will hear people in the racing world sort of go, "Oh, it doesn't have to be that expensive."
Yeah.
And we get a bit of this in cruising as well, but realistically, you can join your local club.
Yeah.
But there is a point at which, if you want to be successful, you're probably going to need to spend.
You're going to need a new sail every season. And
you're going to need to spend some £1,000
nice
on,
new hull
on boats, and that's just, I think we as a sport could do a little better about being kind of realistic about And I think, even if you, like the Laser or the Ilka now is kind of a great example of, it's supposed to be a fairly cheap entry level boat but even then, you need to buy a new one every so often. You're still looking at thousands of pounds, aren't you? So I do take that point, but for me, my equal feeling of you being in the North Sea is championship racing, having built for a year towards this goal, and winning championships.
So it's stringing together a series of things into a whole season.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the way that people talk about marathon training and stuff. When you're out at, like, when I remember breaking the ice off a cover in the dinghy park, putting on just a wetsuit to go out sailing when it's 25, 30 knots and capsizing constantly, getting cold and wet. That's not fun in and of itself, but...
No, it is fun. There are two types of fun. You know the two types of fun?
No.
Type 1 fun and Type 2 fun.
Okay. What, is this Type 2?
That's Type 2 fun.
Okay.
Type 1 fun is where you sit there at the time going, this is lovely, isn't it? This is really fun. Type 2 fun, you sit there going, this is horrible, why on earth are we doing it?
Yeah.
You come back in afterwards and you go, oh, it's amazing, you should have seen the waves, oh, it was so cold. That's the stuff where you get the reward afterwards and it's not fun at the time. That's Type 2 fun.
Okay.
But
well, I would then say that for racing, that is all my favourite memories as a kid are getting to either the start or the end of an event. Yeah. And hitting that first start line, knowing I'm as prepared as possible. Yeah. I've committed. I've put in the time. I've put in the energy, and like some of that Type 2 fun is now going to come to fruition. Yeah,
maybe that's where I fell down. Was I just I never got to a start line feeling like I was that prepared or knew what I was doing, and then I desperately wondered why on earth people were sailing faster than me, and I couldn't work it out. But now I know. I just didn't do the legwork.
But yeah, I mean, I think I can see the appeal, and maybe the end of this is we are both just brainwashed by our fact. Whatever you start doing is what you do. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So, arriving on the start line, you're fully prepared. Type 2 fun is good fun. I agree with that, in that I think that everything, when you look back on your life and you've got people tell me stories about sailing, or what have you done with your life? It's all the stuff that was actually hard at the time that was not necessarily Type 1 fun. Type 1 fun, you go, oh yeah, I went on a holiday to Greece and it was lovely. Type 2 fun is like the middle of the North Sea or breaking ice off the lake to go racing. Yeah. And you're like, it shapes you as a person. It gives you some sort of, I don't know, it's character building. There we go, character building. Yeah. But I genuinely think it contributes to who you are as a person, where Type 1 fun is just, it's nice, but it doesn't change you in any way. Type 2 fun, you have to have learn a bit of backbone to get through it and push yourself. And
I feel like the difference is kind of like I've never really got on with going on holiday and just laying on the beach for a week. But if you go and have a not very busy holiday and sort of lay on the beach for a week, by the end of it, like while you're doing it, it feels really long. Yeah. And if you look back on it a month later, you just sort of go,
remember what you even did.
Whereas if you pack it full, at the time you sort of feel like, oh, this is fairly packed full. But
exactly.
Later on, when you look back at it, it's like a really nice elongated memory, and maybe that feels similar.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it sort of heightens life.
Yeah.
So, when we're doing these podcasts, we thought it might be fun to go and do some fantasy boat shopping.
We did, yeah.
And I think going from our conversation about racing and cruising into looking for what boat we might buy for any given purpose or budget. Now, I've got a couple of boats in my back pocket that I've sort of been watching, and I mean, every sailor does this, don't they? I mean, you sort of look online every so often, going, "Oh, what could I get for this much money?" Or what's my next boat going to be? Whether you've got a boat or not, I feel like everyone just has a little look from time to time of what they might buy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very conscious that our boss is going to see this, but I'll admit to spending a disproportionate amount of my work time sat looking at
Yeah.
boat brokerages,
Surely not. Surely not.
taking the occasional break.
Yeah, so spending a bit of work time looking at.
I do occasionally spend a bit of work time looking at boat brokerages, trying to work out what I might buy.
It's research for the job, Toby. It is. I'm convinced it's valid.
I feel like I can pretend that to myself and to enough people that it's fine.
Yeah. So, what kind of boat should we go shopping for today?
Well, so you've given me a series of criteria.
Yeah. Are we doing cheap boats today?
We were going to do cheap boats today,
Okay.
which I will admit I found actually probably of all the so we've got a few different criteria coming up.
Yeah.
But cheap boats, we said under £5,000.
£5,000. Okay. Yeah.
And I found that.
That's less than the price of a new bike.
Yeah.
About the same price as a cheap second-hand car, probably.
Yeah. And I found it really difficult actually, and I think.
Is that because none of them were high performance enough for your tastes, or was it?
Well, I think this price point, for me, it almost immediately, and maybe this feeds into what I was saying earlier about racing boats and the expense. At this price point, it basically excludes most of the race boats I'd be likely to buy.
Yeah. So what sort of things would you? Are you into like foiling and moths and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I would love a moth. I had a foiling moth for a bit, years back when they sort of first started foiling. And I really enjoyed that, but the costs now. Sorry, moth class. I know it's you can buy second-hand available moths, but it's a lot of money.
I mean, it's carbon fibre. It's development class. It's constant.
Yeah.
Is it a bit of an arms race in some ways of just sort of being a development class?
Yeah, and I think the class.
I've never been on the cutting edge of sailing enough to get involved in a development class, but you see them whizzing around like Chichester Harbour, and I just think they look insanely cool.
I mean, it's rare that I can't remember having a more enjoyable moment as an adult than the first time I properly got up foiling on a moth. And the big thing, the thing that everyone says, is just suddenly you go from like waves slapping on the hull to pretty much dead silence except for a slight whistle and a hum.
Yeah.
And that coupled with hard acceleration was like it was an experience I hadn't felt that sailing ever before in anything. But it is that class is really protective of the fact that they are a development class, so they their rules list is incredibly short, and they don't want to bring in, it's kind of against the history of the class to bring in prescriptive, no, you can't have X or Y, but that means in a class where plenty of people that are like pro sailors are investing time and money.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a lot of the people right at the very top of the sport side of sailing, America's Cup and stuff, have all gone through or had a little dabble in moths at some point or another. If you're going to get into foiling, it seems like the place where you learn all the principles and how to foil, because it's one person, one boat, really small. It's quite as far as foiling goes, it's a really accessible point to start in many ways. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think it's the class kind of has a first adopter, early adopter syndrome. I feel a little bit. So, that is the class that was the first to properly go foiling. Yeah, and therefore, people that were interested in foiling started sailing moths, and then as foiling has sort of spread throughout the kind of professional sailing sphere into the America's Cup and Sail GP and stuff, it's kind of now it's the class that there is the most foiling competition in. I think it's fair to say if you win the Moth World Championships, you are one of the elite top few sailors in the world, and I would almost put that as high as Olympic gold medal.
Right. Okay. Wow.
I would say it's a similar level.
But you're probably not going to get.
But you're not going to get a new moth for £5,000. So that's a big tangent.
Yeah.
But so I mean, I think that sort of true high performance like race boats that I'd be interested in is just not doable for £5,000. And then at the other end of the spectrum, I don't know if you get this, but I get distracted on boat brokerages by that's quite a lot of boat for £5,000, and if you actually went and got a survey done and actually looked at it, that it's like there'd be osmosis problems, and actually £5,000 is probably a lot for something that should really be free.
Yes, yeah.
So
and that's the problem with fiberglass boats, is at the £5,000 end of the market, we've obviously got a massive problem with fiberglass boats, that it's very difficult to dispose of them because they don't rot and you can't recycle them, and effectively the only way to get rid of a yacht is to chainsaw it and put it into landfill, where wooden boats that were built in the 50s, say, up to the 50s, they reach the end of their useful lives and they just sort of gracefully rot away, and you're left with a few metal fittings which you can recycle. And I mean, I think the old Essex way was you'd accidentally start a bonfire, and you could buy a cheap yacht.
Still the old Essex way.
You could buy an old wooden yacht, accidentally set it on fire, collect all of the copper fastenings, and use that to buy a more expensive boat.
Yeah. I think that's fair. But yeah, I mean,
where with these fiberglass boats, we're left with boats from the 60s and 70s and 80s that are maybe no longer quite as desirable as they once were. And so there's a lot of boats at that end of the market which are certainly affordable. It's just whether they're worth anything at all. But they're sort of still around because you can't get rid of them. So
yeah, and they feel like they should have value. I think that's a thing that sellers and people from the outside really struggle with. Like, you know, but this is a 32-foot yacht. It can't be free.
So I think the issue is not the price. In terms of sailing being elitist and inaccessible because it's so expensive, it's completely rubbish. I've been having a look online, and I've got a bit of a surprise up my sleeve. But you can buy a lot of boat for £5,000, and you could sail, and there is nothing technically to stop that boat from doing what I said and going out, turning right and getting to the Caribbean. I mean, people have sailed across the Atlantic in, stupidly, people have been across in a barrel. So I mean, you can basically go with the trade winds and get across one way or another, depending on what level of comfort and safety you want. But I feel like there's a lot of boats online at this end of the market that would really give you the opportunity to go and have some sailing adventures first. Like as a kid saving up for their first car, don't spend it on a car, go and get a boat. The problem is, certainly my view, is that where you keep that boat is actually more of a problem. So if you've got a trailer sailor, you can launch it and pull it out, and then you can stick it on your driveway. But I mean, Lymington is maybe not the best example to take because it is a small river with a rather sort of refined clientele, and keeping a boat that you could buy for £5,000 in one of the lovely marinas here will cost you certainly a fair bit more than the price of the boat every year. So finding somewhere that you can keep it, for example, Keyhaven, which is 3 miles that way or something, and you stick it on a drying mooring somewhere, is a lot more affordable. Essex, East Coast, obviously lots of drying moorings, and if you pick the right one, they can be really cheap, but obviously then you've got to weigh that up with it's a lot less convenient. You've got to walk out across the salt marshes and get in a little dinghy and wade through the mud to get to your boat. And I think culturally we're in a place where people just don't want to pay for that kind of inconvenience. People used to have lots of time and not much money, or, well, that's my impression. Maybe that's not true, but my impression was there used to be more time. Now people are obviously very busy looking at social media and watching YouTube and listening to podcasts, and they haven't got time to go and do adventures. And that's where it comes in, because then you have to pay for the convenience of having it somewhere easy and nice to keep your boat. So I think sailing is really affordable and accessible, but how and where you keep that boat needs, at this end of the market, really needs some careful thought before you wade in and buy your boat.
I totally agree with that. And you know, I've said I'm currently boatless. My partner and I were racing an RS200 for a fair bit. And we sold that and we stopped because we don't have the time to commit to the duties in a volunteer-run club any longer. And then we were genuinely, you know, I know I've said about racing, we did genuinely talk about buying like a small kind of £5,000 cruiser, but we have that exact, you know, living in Brighton on the south coast.
And you've got a lovely marina on your doorstep, but marinas aren't cheap.
It's a lovely marina, but that, you know, that marina would cost me about the price of a boat, less than the price of a boat, but more than I can afford to spend to moor a sort of 20, 30-foot boat there for the year.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a real difficulty. And so looking around with all of those difficulties. The thing that actually popped up for me was I thought I would probably, if I had $5,000 right now and I had to buy
Have you got it on your computer?
I have. I'm not sure if I have actually. I've got the link, but I would buy.
I've got some here as well. So
on Apollo Duck at the moment, there are a few of them.
Other website, sale, marketplace websites are available.
Or entirely not. If Apollo Duck, you want to sponsor this podcast, that's fine. A relatively newish Wayfarer.
Okay, yeah.
So here's my thinking.
Yeah.
I could store it on my driveway. I'm quite lucky in Brighton to have a driveway.
Yeah, fancy, yeah.
It's the next council house there. It's not fancy. I could store it on my driveway.
Yeah.
I could overnight on it.
Yeah.
If I wanted to. We could.
Well, you could do more than that on a Wayfarer.
Well, we could, dinghy camping.
Frank Dye. You could sail to Iceland and back in it.
This is sort of what I was thinking. I could get some adventure sailing done in a Wayfarer, but also for $5,000 I could buy a fairly newish Hartley Boats. Build the Wayfarers in the UK, and I'm a big fan of Hartley Boats. What they do, they sort of rescued quite a lot of older classes from demise by sort of building them in the UK. So I could buy a decent Hartley Boats Wayfarer that I could race, I could keep on my drive, and I could go kind of dinghy camping, adventure cruising, and see if cruising is for me. Yeah,
I mean that's a very particular. But with your sort of your hiking, you could take your trangia in a sleeping bag, and you're.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
no,
I can see the appeal of that.
It's the cross of both, you know.
Yeah. And also, Wayfarers are unbelievably seaworthy boats as dinghies go.
Yeah.
They've got that beautiful. This is what I did. I mean, the sailing centre in Tollsbury, where I used to teach sailing. I think they still use Wayfarers there because they are such good teaching boats because you can sail them rudderless, you can sail them centreboardless, you can sail them backwards. They behave as a boat should behave. They can perform, and they're quite powerful boats because they've got quite a generous sail plan. Yeah. And you can set a spinnaker and all that kind of stuff. But then it's big enough, and you can sleep two people on the washboards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you could get a sort of bimini over the boom, and
plenty of people do that. And
that was my thought.
And you could buy quite a nice boat for £5,000.
That would be raceable. You see, that's my
yeah. Because I mean, if you want just a cheap knackered old Wayfarer, you could pick one up for £500.
Yeah. Loads of them around. But I thought one of the newer Hartley Boats ones. And
you're also then not faffing around with diesel inboard engines, electronics, step sounders, any of that. So you're actually, and then at the end, you can pull it up the beach on a trolley. Two people can pull it. They're not the lightest boats.
No, but you can drag it up.
Yeah. You can drag it up and then
age and honey is willing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But and then I we won't get into this, but I'd probably get an electric outboard for it.
Yeah. We'll maybe do that in another episode.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I felt like the more I looked around, the more I was like, actually, that seems like a sensible option for me where I am at the moment.
Yeah. Did anything else catch your eye? Was there anything?
Not a huge amount, if I'm honest. This is a price point that I've been broadly looking at for myself, but I come stuck against that. What I struggle with if I get into bigger cruises is because I still want performance.
Yeah.
I think trailer sailors, you're sort of moving away from anything that feels performance-y.
Yeah.
So what appeals about a Wayfarer is I think it could scratch that itch of kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me that's definitely true that whatever I buy, it has to sail nicely. I do boat testing for the magazine and stuff, and you get to sail boats that genuinely sail nicely, and others that are sort of floating hulls that are propelled by sails. But
yes, we'll name no names.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I'm not actually saying that about new boats necessarily, because I think the whole crop of them. Anyway, we'll come on to boat design another time because they're doing. I think they're doing amazing things with what the hull shapes do these days. But anyway, completely different topic.
I agree. I'd love to get into that.
Now, I am struggling to make my decision. I've got half a dozen boats here that I'm going to tell you about.
Okay.
First of all, I have found the practical boat owner, practical projects yacht up for sale.
Okay.
For exactly £5,000. Now, I know exactly what they've done to this boat because it's been fully documented in the magazine. It's got rather a nice set of canvas on it. I think it's had stuff done to the engine. It's all been done. So I know that that boat is pretty well up together and working.
Yeah.
Ali Wood was doing it up for practical boat owner.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's cut any corners, but I don't think so. And she certainly had quite a few experienced people looking at the boat as well. So I think, and that is a Maxi 84. So it's an old school boat. Let's have a look how old it is. I don't know, when was it built? 1978. Okay, so it's been around a little while, but it's got a 19 horsepower Volvo Penta in there, probably the original, so it might be a bit tired. But it's got some really nice canvas on it. And it looks, there you go, you can see the pictures. It's like a proper little boat. It's got some nice little side lights and upholstery and curtains and a table and stuff.
Nice. So what length is she?
8.4 metres.
Okay.
So that's 24 foot.
Yeah.
So a nice little boat, but you could genuinely have some proper adventures on that. With that set of canvas, you could probably go racing as well.
Yep.
Do some local handicap racing, and you could have a lot of fun on that boat. Maxi's also quite good boats. Next one, not that one. I found my old boat for sale, but we'll come on to that another time. It's very tempting. I know what I sold it for. I know what it's on sale for now. I'm quite tempted, but apparently that's a no-go.
I was going to say, I think we go back to the wife conversations there.
Yeah, no, we do want to get another boat. I'm currently boatless as well, apart from the little hard tender, which is sitting hopefully on my driveway at the moment. Okay. It's actually being used as a log store to shelter the logs for winter. But it's sitting there for the day that I've got a boat again and I can put it on the river.
Fine.
The next boat is for sale for £995.
Okay.
But
well, I wasn't looking at. I'll be honest.
So I wasn't going to look at this either. But it's a Sadler 26. So I had the Sadler 29 before.
Yeah.
Sadlers sail really well. They've got a really good reputation as proper little sea boats. They're kind of derived from. So David Sadler was involved in the Contessas, the Contessa 2632, all of that. So they're kind of got that sort of really seaworthy DNA built into their designs.
Yeah.
They also had double skins, so it was a layer of fiberglass foam and another layer of sort of hull lining, which made them unsinkable. So you could open all the seacocks and they wouldn't sink. So you get a bit of, on the old boats, you get a bit of problem with trapped moisture sometimes.
Yeah.
But on the whole, they didn't really suffer from osmosis too much, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
And they've stood the test of time really well in that they're really seaworthy still. You could properly go offshore in these. I think this one's a fin keel boat. It's on for $995 because the engine's knackered. The engine is completely dead. The head's off it. It's had water in it, and it needs a new engine.
Right.
But the old Sadlers had Buck engines, B-U-K-H, which are really agricultural. They're cast iron. They've got a big flywheel. You can hand start them. And the great thing is that they are what goes into, you know, when you see ships going up and down, they've got the little lifeboats they drop in.
Yep.
They've all got Buck engines in because they're so simple and agricultural that but on a service cycle they have to replace those engines fairly regularly. So you get quite a lot of very lightly used engines on the second-hand market, which you can get refurbished and put in your boat. I know that because I did exactly the same to my original Buck on my Sadler, and I got water in the cylinders and it blew up and I had to replace it. But I know that I can do that as a result for about £3,500.
Okay.
As in buying the engine and putting it in, it won't cost me more than £4,000.
So you're still coming in under.
I'm still coming in under £5,000, and then I get this lovely little boat. The upholstery is a little bit dated, but it's got a proper galley. It's got a little chart table. I can comfortably sleep probably 4 or 5 people on there if I wanted to. So I could put the family on board. And I could go and have some really nice sailing adventures. So I think even though it needs a new engine at that price, I could do that. So I'm tempted by that.
Yep.
Albin Vega 27.
Oh, I think this might have popped up in my search.
Yeah, so this one's quite tempting. So Jazz Turner, the woman who's just sailed around the British Isles, first woman to sail solo, unassisted, non-stop around the British Isles, and the first disabled person to do so. She's a wheelchair user, and she did it completely unsupported in a boat that is not particularly adapted. What she did is just incredible.
And who you've spoken to for this podcast?
And I've spoken to, yeah, so her story should probably be, it's either already on the podcast or it's going to come up. But it's got an integral keel. The amazing bit of the story where she was just exhausted after coming through the North Sea, had this terrible incident where she went aground off Folkestone.
Yeah,
but the boat is designed so that you could sail it into it's a Baltic boat. Is it Finnish? I think they were built in Finland. They were designed so that you could sail it into a lump of rock in Finland and hit it with the keel.
Which does happen in
Which
Finland.
does happen quite regularly. And the boat be absolutely no worse for wear. So it's got this integral keel. You have to check that no water's got into the integral keel, but they're built like a brick house. So absolutely bomb-proof. And they've got a really good reputation. They're surprisingly quick. And you could get that for £5,000. Very similar to that, there's also a Contessa 26 for sale. That's a long keel boat with a keel hung rudder. So
this is what every time I look for me, I keep, occasionally I'll come across a 26 at around about this price point.
Yeah.
And this is what I've costed up for.
And I have to say, totally worth it. Like, lovely. They're still winning. If you want to go racing, you go on a light wind round the island race, and they're winning this round the island race on a semi-regular basis.
Not lost on me, that fact.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. So what should I buy? I'm still undecided. Do I get the project boat Sadler, put a new engine in it, and I know it's got a good engine, but I'm just worried. Oh, there's one that I missed. This is the one that I'm going for. It's an X102.
Whoa,
so it's an X yacht. Is that 10 metres at 10.2? Let me check. It's something like that.
So what's that, 30?
Yeah, 10.6 metres.
30 something foot.
Yeah, my maths is terrible. And
all I know is 11 is 37. My parents.
We're going to get loads of comments going. You two. This is why I do words and not numbers. My mental arithmetic is awful. But look at
30
this.
something foot.
Okay, so it's got a chart table. It's got a heads, but it's a racing boat, and you could have so much fun on this. You can cruise on it, stick a new set of canvas on that, and you've got a serious boat. And it's also, for me, it's got that little bit of cool factor that maybe the other boats don't. So it was built in 1985. Okay. So it's quite retro, but X yachts really shift.
Yeah, I've got a real soft spot for X yachts.
Yeah, I mean, more in cost aside of having a slightly longer boat.
Yeah.
That is a lot of boat for your money, and you would have a lot of fun in that. And if you're just cruising, it's still going to sail really nicely. Might not be the driest, comfiest cruising boat you could buy, but it's probably, for this price point, it's probably going to be one of the fastest.
I mean, it is. That's a clear win.
Yeah.
I almost want to question what's wrong with it. I'd be interested to get a survey done and see, because that feels.
Yeah, well, that's the caveat, isn't it? Don't go and buy. Don't go and buy a boat without a survey, particularly when you're spending £5,000 on a 40-year-old boat.
Yes,
you will regret it. I mean, you're going to spend money on a boat, whatever you buy, aren't you? But anyway, so my money, I'm going to get the X102. You can sleep on the floorboards of the Wayfarer. I'll go off and have my proper cruising adventures in that.
Your proper cruising adventure. I mean, the Wayfarer.
Sorry, I'll go and race it around the cans. There you go.
For where I am right now, I think
a
decent Wayfarer that I know could be competitive, but I could also keep on my drive and go adventuring if I want to go adventuring. There's not much else out there for £5,000 that does it all for me.
No, fair enough. Good. Well, I think that's probably all we've got time for. So I can't actually remember what we've really talked about. We've certainly waffled on about boats quite a lot.
We have waffled on about boats quite a lot.
We've come to the conclusion that we haven't really reached any conclusions, have we?
No, I don't feel like that's the point of this. Are we here to reach definitive conclusions?
Well, I hope it's been in some way enjoyable and entertaining to watch. If it has or if it hasn't, put some comments down below. Please be kind. If there's stuff that you'd like us to cover or things that you think we should be talking about, say that in the comments as well. But it would be lovely if you could give us a share, a thumbs up, a like, all of that good stuff.
Yes, please, because it means we can keep making these, which
we'd like to do, and hopefully you'd like us to do as well. But that is all we've got time for now, I think. So thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on the Sailing Podcast.
Thanks very much.